War Thunder is one of those games that relies heavily on precision. Most if not all the tanks are single fire, forcing you to be extremely accurate with your shots and hitting weak spots. Even tanks where you think doesn't require precision, like the HSTVL or the 2S38, are especially reliant on precision, especially considering how their post-pen from the smaller guns doesn't quite match that of a normal tank gun. In fact, a lot of the most popular tanks in game rewards you for being precise with your shots and carefully aiming your gun. You got stuff like the IS-2, which gives you an almost guaranteed one-shot in return for an extremely long reload, or even a one-and-done naval cannon on a chassis that has absolutely no armor, but rewards you for playing extremely carefully and relying on timing to deal a guaranteed penetration and a subsequent kill. I mean, you even got the VCC 8060, which has the fastest non-autocannon reload in the game, but...
Oh, hey! Look what I just brought!
What the hell is that? Oh boy, I think I'm in love. So with the introduction of the brand new War Thunder update, Hornet Sting, War Thunder added a few new very popular and long-awaited vehicle which needs no introduction, like the FA-18 Hornet.
The terrain will confuse his targeting system.
And the SU-30 SM.
I'm gonna show him a little trick I learned!
But what I'm actually interested in taking a look at today is this thing. I introduced to you the Clovis, the newest addition to the French and German tech tree that came with the update. It might look absolutely nothing like any tank in the game and maybe even dumb at first, but just like the AMX-10RC, this thing can be deceptively deadly.
Oh yeah? What's so special about it then? The whole reason I bought it was because you keep convincing me that France is overpowered or something. It's just another run-of-the-mill light tank, isn't it?
Well yes, but actually no. The Clovis, although looking very soft and harmless, is actually in reality a very deadly tank in the BR range, and allow me to explain why. When it comes to War Thunder gameplay, especially around the BR of 7.7 to 8.7, I think we can all agree that the meta is to have as much armor as possible while also having an extremely powerful gun. Just look at some example like the IS-4M, M103, and the Conquer. They're all extremely heavy, well-armored tanks, with the exception of some tanks later down the line like the M60, T-54, and 55s, and even the Chieftains. But they all have one flaw.
Really? Are you about to tell me that the most popular and most played tanks of the BR sucks?
Well, no, but if we take a closer look at any of these tanks, we can quickly come to the realization that they all lack one extremely important thing, and that is mobility, whether it is forward mobility or other factors like turret traverse. And because of that, the Clovis is able to capitalize on that like nothing else at this BR. So let's take a look at that. So as per usual of these guys, we're going to take a look at the mobility of the Clovis first. The Clovis, like his other brethren utilizing the Martyr chassis, benefits from extremely good mobility thanks to a 720 horsepower engine and a great transmission, which, like the AMX-10RC, is able to give it the same speed going forward and backwards. But the one thing that sets the Clovis and other Martyr chassis apart from the AMX-10RC is the benefit of having a tracked chassis. As much as I love the AMX-10RC, the Clovis just beats it out in certain regards. And one of those things is the off-road mobility and instantaneous mobility. Having wheels are great, but you will suffer tremendously in off-road environments, whereas the tracks completely negates that issue. And considering the Clovis is built on the Martyr hull... No, not that one. There we go. As I was saying, because the Clovis was built on the Martyr hull, it gets to greatly benefit from how stable the chassis is, as it does not have a stabilizer like most French tanks in this BR.
So, all it can do is go fast, is that it? Like, come on, you're really expecting a light tank with no stabilizers to do well?
Ah yes, firepower. Let's take a look at that next. So unlike most nations which favored kinetic projectiles, France decided to pursue development of the heat shell, which to be fair worked out in their favor. Remember how I mentioned earlier that most tanks of this BR range focuses on having heavy armor and high-penning guns?
Yeah, what about it? The Clovis doesn't have either, so... Is this thing really even competitive at the BR?
Well yes, it's true the Clovis doesn't have good armor or an extremely big gun, but it does have one thing that you forgot. I have a 400mm penning heat round. You are going to die. Yep, that's right. At the BR where armor and protection is everything, the Clovis gets around that bypasses all of that. However, thanks to warthunder, heat shells can be sometimes extremely inconsistent, but at least they're penetrating the armor and doing damage. However, unfortunately, unlike APDS rounds and APFSDS rounds you see at higher BRs, the OCC 105F1, like other heat shells, are significantly slower in velocity, making them unsuited for range engagements. But Gaijin gave you something which the DF105 doesn't have, and that is a laser rangefinder, which allows it to do shit like this.
Seriously? A rangefinder? That's it?
Well yeah, it may seem trivial at first, but it changes the game of the Clovis altogether. Just look at it from this way. Having heat shells already diminishes your range capabilities, but having a laser rangefinder negates that as it gives you the exact range of the target in mere seconds. And considering how most tank at the 8.0 BR range, not even having a mechanical rangefinder, this gives you an extremely big advantage, especially when playing defensive, which puts you in a similar situation as the AMX-10RC.
Hold on, didn't you say that you have no armor? If that's the case, wouldn't rat tanks be your Achilles heels?
Yes, that may be a nuisance, however, they forgot one thing. You have a coaxial 20mm autocannon that just kind of slaps. Remember how in the AMX-10RC video I mentioned that one of your biggest threats are autocannons? Well, now you can also do that to other light tanks which you may come across in your flanking maneuvers, giving you an extremely big advantage compared to them. Oh yeah, also, did I mention? Since the Clovis is pretty much the DF105 but better, it also incorporates its autoloader which allows it to put a round down range every 5 seconds no matter what happens. You know what that means? You can reload faster than the enemy tank commander can override their gunner controls.
Wow, okay, that does sound pretty good. But how do you play this tank?
Good question, let's wrap this up. The Clovis, like the DF105 and even the AMX-10RC, benefits from an extremely passive-aggressive playstyle due to the lack of stabilizers. But unlike the DF105 or other light tanks of the BR, like for example the BMP-1 and the R3s, you have a lot of tools at your disposal, all the while having great mobility. But eventually you might have to deal with a CQB situation, where in that case, abuse the fact that the back half of your tank is completely empty and use it to bait shots. But of course, being a light tank, you are extremely vulnerable, so playing passively is more often than not a smart idea. And in ranged combat, you're not completely helpless either, thanks to the laser rangefinder. And because of those tools that the vehicle possesses, you are able to survive for an extremely long time and dish out a ton of damage. So use those tools given to you and your exceptional mobility to get into a good position in the early game, which will negate your biggest disadvantage, that being your lack of a stabilizer. And do take advantage of your fast reload to get follow-up shots and even arcing your heat round over terrain to hit your target. So get out there and show people just how terrifying a competent French player is, and remember, it's about sending a message.